Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bella and I'm a seamstress and I want to teach you how to sew. I feel like this season of weekend trips is upon us, so today I thought I would make some toiletry bags because I have had the same ones for the past 5 to 10 years and they're looking very sad and very crusty, and it's something that I use a lot, so I thought I would make some revamped cute summery ones. So I went fabric shopping this morning and I got some really cute fabrics. This one is like a mixed berry print on a pink background, and then I got one that's just strawberries on blue. I think they're super cute. And then I have these sort of contrasting cottons that I already had. They're just like sheeting from the thrift store, so I'm going to use these to line them. And then I have some old zippers because I forgot to buy zippers while I was out this morning. I'm sure there's like millions of free patterns for toiletry bags on Pinterest, so I'm just gonna quickly look and kind of try to trace something myself. So I'm gonna get started and then I'll come back and show you all the measurements once I cut it. It's so hot today. The last thing I want to do right now is iron, but this is going to make this project so much easier for you if you iron everything first. Oh, this iron is not on. Cool. So I have cut out 3 rectangles that are 23 inches by 17 inches. The 23 length is how you're going to be folding it over like this, and then the zipper is going to be going down the 17 inch. So basically I have my 2 pieces of cotton, the outside and the lining piece, and then on the inside between those 2 pieces I put a piece of canvas. If you want it to be more of that like poofy kind of quilted look, if you even want to quilt it before you sew it together, then you can put some thin batting between the 2 layers. If you don't know what batting is, it's like quilt stuffing, so it's sort of just a layer of like fluff, but you can buy it by the yard, so you can easily lay it out flat and then insert it between 2 layers that you want to quilt. But I wanted mine to just be a little bit stiffer than that. I don't really like the look of batting, so I went for canvas instead. So you want to have both pieces of cotton, your outside and your lining, facing outwards like this, and then put the canvas or whatever you want in the middle in between them, or you can completely opt out of that step if you want your bag to be a little bit thinner, but it does just add a little bit of structure, which is nice. And then you want to take your zipper and place it face down on your fabric like this. Open it up as you pin it, and then do the same thing on the other side. Take the other side of the zipper and we're gonna fold this over and then start pinning it down on the other side here. You can start with the zipper unzipped just to make it easier to lay everything flat, but just make sure that you put the zipper back in within the parameters of your seam before you start sewing it, especially if you are using a zipper that's longer than 17 inches like I am. That's totally fine. You can just sew right over the zipper and then it will obviously stop at that point, so you won't have any problems with that. I'm also allowing for about a 1/2 inch seam allowance just because I do have 3 layers of fabric and I'm never quite confident that I cut everything precisely because I never do. I'm gonna now move over to the machine and then I'm just gonna stitch this down as close as I can possibly get to the zipper, because you can do whatever you want with this. Some people I know leave a little bit more of a gap so you can see the color of the fabric that the zipper's attached to. I personally don't really love that look. I'm just gonna get as close to the zipper teeth as possible. It's pretty easy to do this on a machine. I don't even use a zipper foot. Just open up your zipper, stitch down however close you want to, and then once you get to a certain point about halfway down the zipper, lift up the presser foot and then move the zipper up past to where you have already sewn. so that you don't have to work your needle around the zipper pull. Since we're just using cotton materials, I'm gonna trim these with pinking shears, and then that will stop these from fraying. So I'm going to try to trim them basically to go underneath the zipper here, or at least close to, because we're gonna top stitch it on the other side so it will hold everything down and it will be super neat on the inside. Okay, now for the fun part, we get to turn this inside out and it is starting to look like a makeup bag. This is up to you, completely personal preference. You can just leave it like this. You can iron it down if you want. If you don't want top stitching but you want it to still lay really flat, you can iron it right now. I'm gonna top stitch it because I love top stitching. So if you do this, this is all you do, it's really simple. You can see how the zipper is laying flat. You're just gonna turn it under like this. So it'll look nice and clean on the outside, and then this is what it's gonna look like on the inside. So you can pin this if you need a little bit of a guide, or you can just kind of hold it down with your fingers as you go. That's what I do, and it's really simple. Okay, so we have our top stitching done. It looks super flat and neat, which I love. So now on to the next step. You're gonna turn this inside out again, and then what you're gonna do is line it up so that the zipper is directly in the middle, and then we're going to stitch this completely closed and then do the same thing on the other side. So you can see if you used a zipper that's too long like I did, you can either just let it hang like that in the bag, or you can trim it off after you stitch this closed if you're worried about it not being secure enough, or if your needle doesn't quite go through. You can just sort of bind it, go back and forth, back stitch a couple times so that you sort of bind the thread around the zipper, and it should hold perfectly fine. So at this point, once you're done stitching that down, you also have another ugly raw edge here. You can do one of a few things here. You could go back in with your pinking shears if you want to do that. This is double the amount of fabric though to trim. So I think what I'm gonna do instead is I'm just gonna take my regular scissors. I'm gonna trim this pretty close to the seam, about a ½ centimeter. And then what I'm gonna do is change my machine to a zigzag stitch and then sort of overlock the edge of the fabric. So only half of the stitch is going to be actually going into the fabric, and then the other half, when you go to the other side of the zigzag, is going to sort of bind around the edge of the fabric. I want to make a note as well about what you're cutting with. If you have a zipper situation like mine where the teeth of the zipper hang over where your seam is, I'm going to cut this with some old fabric scissors that I don't care about anymore. I use these on everything, not just fabric, because I've retired them from being fabric scissors. You must be very strict about fabric scissors versus regular scissors. Don't be stupid like I was and not unzip your zipper before you sew this up, because now like this, just not enjoyable. So now is for the magic part. You're going to take this corner, open it up like this, and then lay it down flat like this. So this is what it will look like. That seam that we just sewed should be going down in one direction and then hitting a 90-degree angle with the zipper. So keep in mind that whatever angle you sew this across at, that's going to be the height of your bag. You can kind of do whatever you want for this. I want mine to be pretty boxy, so I'm going to just measure down this angle until I get to like maybe, I don't know, 5 inches, 4 or 5 inches, and then I'm gonna pin it down and sew across. I'm just using the edge of my cutting mat because it has these nice angle pieces and then the inch measurements here, so it's really easy to work with. but you can just use a tape measure. So the easiest thing to do here is just going to be to mark it with a marker, because we're going to be stitching this down and cutting it up anyways, and this is on the inside, doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to pin this also. Now stitch that down on the line that you just created. This is also the point where you can decide which way you want this seam to be facing. So I'm going to face it running with the zipper this way. I'm going to turn this inside out just to double check that I like the shape of this first before I actually cut the fabric. So you can see here, that is sort of starting to create the shape. So that side seam that we did now moves to the middle of the height here. So then this is the length of the seam that we just did. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to do the rest of the corners and then trim them off, and I'm gonna overlock them with the zigzag stitch just like I did the other seams. So there you have it. These are the finished bags. I think they turned out so cute. I ended up making another one in the other fabric, just a little bit smaller. So I cut down the original rectangle size by 3 inches on both the length and the width, and it turned out to be a perfect ratio. So really you can just work with any rectangle size, play around with it, test out different lengths for the height as well. I think that could result in some really cute different shapes. Lots of different things that you can do with these. I think they're such a great, easy beginner project. Great for gift giving because it's not something that you have to size for anybody. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, let me know what you thought down below. If you make this, then tag me. I really want to see them. My Instagram and TikTok are both at Bella Viglianti. That will be linked down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below. That really helps me out. And subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And if you want to support my channel and the sewing content that I'm making in another way, then you can buy me a coffee. The link will be down in the description below, but no worries if you don't want to. I'll see you back here next time.